Yes. What's happening, everybody? It's Tuesday night. It's after the Contender Series. Week 10 just happened. I didn't watch any of the fights. I'm going to watch it after the show tonight. Was having dinner and then getting ready for the show tonight. So didn't get to watch the Contender Series, but I'll be checking that out after we're done breaking down all 12 fights on the UFC Vegas 81 card that's coming up this Saturday, which is going to be headlined by Sodiq Yusuff versus Edson Barboza, a real banger of a main event between two explosive, fast, powerful strikers. That's going to be a really fun fight. And really, there's a lot of good fights on this card. It is an Apex card. We are in Vegas, but I think what we will know is that there is going to be some exciting fights and then some fights that aren't probably going to be that exciting. But hey, if we find ways to make some money on these fights, stack cash tickets like flapjacks, it's always fun watching the fights when we're doing that. So we got to put in the work today. We got to do the research. We got to look at the numbers. We got to look at the tape and figure out how we can find some picks on these fights, find some mispriced lines so that we can make money and enjoy these fights even more than we would if we were just watching them for the entertainment value. So welcome to Just the Tip with me, your host, Uncle Weezy. Let's get into these fights. But first, before we do, let's talk about last week. Last week was a small up week for me, up 1.09 units. The losing bets, I had a half unit on the Abdul Razak Al Hassan money line at plus 360. Not surprised that that one went tits up. Pfeiffer looked great. Got a second round submission. I know a bunch of people in the community cashed on that second round submission prop. So props to everybody that did. Also had a couple other losing bets. Plus 190 for 1 unit on the Vanessa Demopoulos Kaneko Murata fight not to go to decision. Thought there was a possibility one of those ladies might be able to find a finish in that spot. Took the long shot there. Did not work out. And then also the Bootsy Collins Memorial Dogs Are Barking pick of the week. Alexander Hernandez to win by decision. He got 29-28'd by Algio there. Close fight for the most part, but I thought Algio definitely deserved to win on the scorecards, and he did. So the fight did go to decision, just didn't get the nod to go our way. So it was two units in losing bets, and then the winning bets were the over 2.5 rounds in the Hernandez-Algio fight. Caught that opener at plus 125 for 1 unit. We got the Nate Maness, Mateus Mendoza under 2.5 rounds fight at plus 115, 1 unit bet. So that was a 1.15 unit win. And then we also had the over 1.5 rounds for Alex Morono versus Joaquin Buckley. That was minus 145, 1 unit bet, wound up winning 0.69 units. So we had about 3.09 units of winning bets, two units of losing bets, up 1.09 units on those spots. The ass shaving of the week was Drew Dober to win over, to shave the ass, really, of Ricky Glenn, and he did exactly that, made it look very, very easy. We're on an absolute heater with the ass shaving of the week picks. And then the greasy four-legger, dear God, I mean, it was Maness Mendoza under 2.5 rounds. That hits. Then it was Alexander Hernandez versus Bill Algio over 2.5 rounds. That hits. Then it was Morono versus Buckley over 1.5 rounds. That hits. The last leg to cash the plus 535 greasy four-legger was the Grant Dawson money line at minus 440. Did not cash. Got knocked out in the first round. I was all ready to put a tweet together talking about how I had hit 3 straight greasy four-legger parlays. But wow. Congratulations to Bobby Green on a first-round knockout. Shocking the world, is a massive underdog. When that fight started, Grant Dawson went off at minus 600 on the money line on Bet Online Sportsbook. So I wound up actually hedging out for a quarter unit on the Green money line at plus 450 on Bet Online Sportsbook. So I'm making a little bit of money on the parlay, but I was heartbroken that didn't come through. I really wanted to hit 3 in a row. Out of the last 5 of those greasy 4-leg parlays, we've had 3 out of 4 legs hit 3 times and then 4 legs hit twice. I'm 17 out of 20 on my last 20 picks in those parlays. It's just, I can't believe Grant Dawson couldn't get the job done to make it 3 in a row. That would have been such a nice feather in my cap. But either way, winning week, won a tiny bit on the parlay by hedging out, won 1.09 units tracked, won a prize picks play. But now it's about putting those wins in the rearview mirror. We're on a 4-event winning streak right now, and we got to put in the work in order to get the wins this week. You guys, I appreciate each and every one of you that's watching. What's going on with you guys in the chat? Let's see who's here hanging out with us on Tuesday night. My guy, the Jewish Better, in the room saying, "Oi, what is up, Jewish Better? Good to see you hanging out." We got Bob Spikerman's in the room saying, "Yo, Weezy, you're the man. Thank you for everything. Much love right back at you." To my man from the Netherlands there, Bob Spikerman's. Hope all is going well for you at home, brother. It's another week to make some money, my friend. So let's get the job done. My guy, the Train, is in the room saying Charles is out. Yes, if you haven't heard the news, next week's main event, the UFC 294 main event, it was supposed to be Charles Oliveira versus Islam Makhachev. Oliveira is out. They went and they called Volkanovski, so who's going to be taking this fight on about 10 days notice, up a weight class at 155 again. So they're going to do Volk versus Makhachev 2 as the headliner now for that event. So that means I got to go back and change another fight on these cards. The work of your favorite UFC statistician is never done, but that's what you do when you've got the patreon.com/Uncle Weezy. I'm always updating those stats for you guys there so that you can get ahead of these bookies and make some money by having all the stats at your fingertips in one place. Please consider joining the Patreon. Absolutely the best way to support my work. We got Snerius in the room saying fair play to Volk for stepping up, taking the fight in Abu Dhabi. Man of his word. Yes, he did. I mean, what can you say about that guy? He's definitely the greatest of all time of the featherweight division, and taking that fight up a weight class against a killer like Makhachev in Abu Dhabi on short notice. Yeah, man, he's a G. We got John G in the room saying, "What's up? What's up, Johnny G? Always good to see you in here, brother. Hope all is well with you, my man." We got DFS by the numbers saying, "Oi, yes, what's up, Brady?" He's saying Charles is out and Paulo Costa may be out. UFC 294 is cursed. Oh, I'm sure Costa's not showing up to fight. When I saw that he was fighting Hamzat, I laughed my ass off. I'm like, there is no way Paulo Costa's getting in the cage with that guy. He is not going to show up. It was probably the easiest. I mean, I wish there were odds on that fight not making it to fruition, because that would have been a max bet for me. Yeah, but now we got Volk versus Makhachev. We just got to hope that everybody else makes it to the show, because you're not going to get a lot of people stepping up to fight on short notice in Abu Dhabi. So, yeah, there better not be any more injuries. We got TH in the room saying, "Oi, good to see you, Weezy. Good to see you in here, TH." We got Bob in the room saying, "I hate the fact that Volk will now step up on short notice for his rematch. He's probably the only one who has a chance to beat Islam's boring ass, but on 10 days notice." Yeah, 10 days notice is a very, very tall order for sure. Bob saying he's a true gangster, and there is no question about that. We've got my guy Rem Dog in the room saying, "Oh, yes, it's that time of the week, Tuesday night, 10 o'clock Central Time." Always breaking down these fights right here on YouTube, on Uncle Weezy's YouTube channel. We got SD Crusader in the room saying hashtag Volk strong, and he is. My guy Kiwi Brew, my guy Eli, all the way from either Australia or New Zealand, telling us Chural, what is happening, my man? We got Giga Chat of NPCs in the room saying Soya Vera pulled out. Where the Dubrox Soy Boys at? Yeah, he pulled out, man. I hope he's back soon, because I still want to see that rematch too. I would like to see Islam fight Charles again. My guy Daz saying, "Sweet, let's go." Hey, a Kiwi, he's saying, Sneery is saying, "I have to take a prepared Islam in Abu Dhabi with Khabib most likely in the corner." Yeah, I mean, I think I do too. It's a tall order, but you might think that Volk knew that this opportunity could present itself, and maybe he was getting ready. I mean, he doesn't have a fight scheduled, I don't think. So maybe he was thinking, all right, Abu Dhabi might be the place where I get my rematch against this guy. So who knows? Maybe he was preparing for him the whole time. We got Giga Chad of NPCs saying, too bad this fight is on short notice because there won't be a trilogy if Islam wins. Probably not. Yeah, maybe they'll let Volk go back down to 145 and continue cleaning out that division. We got my guy Vic in the room. Victor De Jesus saying, "What's up, Weezy in chat?" Oi, what's up, dude? Terry Mizzo saying, "What's good, Uncle Weezy?" Oi, what's up, Terry? Good to see you hanging out, man. We got Kiwi saying, "What's up to Daz?" Islam was preparing for a whole nother style, though. Yes, he was. Oliveira is completely different from Volk, without question. I get that, but he's had a proper camp. Yeah, Volk is way different, though. It'll help he fought him 8 months ago, but still. And then we got, it'll be a tricky fight due to his attributes. Yes. Weezy, who do I got in the rematch between Islam and Volk? Well, I mean, right now I got to go with Islam. I thought he won that fight 3 rounds to 2 last time out. I thought he didn't wrestle quite enough. I'd like to see him wrestle more. And, maybe this will be his opportunity to do that. But either way, I kind of like him here, but Volk was right there with him. It was a very close fight. So I mean, I feel like it could go either way, but just the fact that 10 days notice, that's a lot. Up a weight class, that's a big deal. And then not really being prepared to fight at the highest level that you need to fight in your career in order to get this win, to just get that news so close to fight time. I gotta lean with Islam here. Yeah, you might think, yeah, I mean, he could win, dude. He was very close the last time. Volk absorbs the abilities of those he defeats, so now he will have Yair striking in his tool belt for this fight. That would be awesome. Corey Mann saying, "Oi, what is up, Corey?" We got John saying, "Secret carded walk." Oh God, yeah. Johnny G and I went to Las Vegas a long time ago for a bachelor party, and that is something from that that trip we got. Green Bat saying Olives out. I know, man. Scottsdale, Arizona is watching me. Says yes, freak. What is happening here? Giannis rebound fight. Yeah, this definitely could be a spot for him. It's definitely a really good matchup for him because it's not going to be against a wrestling heavy opponent here. He'll be able to stand, use his distance striking. So I'm definitely looking forward to it. Let's see. We got Snerius in the room saying 10 days notice, and I'm almost positive most of his fights have been in Vegas or at home, long way from home. And we got Bob Spikerman saying, damn, if Costa pulls out against Kamaev, would be bad because they can't call Sean Strickland short notice anymore because he's the champ now. Yeah, and that probably would have been one of the things that they did was just pick up the phone and be like, Sean, we'll pay you a pile of money to go to Abu Dhabi and fight. And he'd be like, hey, I would have been fighting that day anyway in the cage over at Extreme Couture, over at any of the other gyms that he trains at in Vegas. So yeah, man, we could absolutely see him taking these short notice spots if he wasn't the champion, but he is, and they're going to need a 185er to definitely do that because I mean, Paulo Costa's not showing up, you guys. He's already talking about how he had elbow surgery like a few weeks ago, supposedly when he was taking this fight. So he's already making the excuse to back out. And we got Real Fight Picks in the room saying, Weezy, nice to see you. Good to see you, Real Fight Picks. Hey, guys, we got a lot of work to do. We got to break down 12 fights on this card. I got my notes ready. I got my stats ready. All these stats are available on Uncle Weezy's Patreon. You see the here, let me share my screen with you guys. Oh, already unplugged my camera. And then now let me get... Yeah, guys, my camera's been clipping out on me lately. So let me just reset this real quick here. All right. Oh, great. There we go. All right. So yeah, and if I share the screen here properly, there we go. We get to the advanced stats that you see here, the prop template that you see here, it's all available on the Patreon. You see the address scrolling below there. And we're going to be breaking down all 12 of these fights. And like I always say, that Patreon is the best way to support my work. So I appreciate all you guys for hanging out. Let's get into it and let's break down these fights. The fight that we're going to start with is going to be Ashley Yoder at plus 300 going up against Emily Ducote at minus 400. The fight doesn't go to decision, plus 250. It's juiced up for the overs here, obviously, because neither one of these ladies has ever had a fight in the UFC finish inside the distance. So definitely going to be a fight that probably goes to decision. But in order to figure out who's going to win it, we're going to have to figure out who wins the minutes. So hang on just a sec here. All right, you guys. Ashley Yoder versus Emily Ducote. Let's start with Yoder's advantages. Now, she's got most of the measurables advantages here, as she's just an absolutely huge straw weight. Ashley's 5 inches taller, has a 6-inch reach advantage, and she is the southpaw in this southpaw versus orthodox matchup. And Ashley has the UFC experience advantage in this spot as well. 7 more fights, 105 more minutes of octagon time. And Ashley's been around the game a long time, everybody. She's been training at Dan Henderson's Team Quest since day one, basically. She's outlanded her UFC opponents in takedowns 12-7. She has just under 70% takedown defense, which is above average for the weight class. And she outcontrols her opponents 29% to 22%, winning almost 57% of the control time positions her fights have been in. Ashley's fights take place in control time positions over 50% of the time, so you might need to be ready for a grindy type of fight when you fight Ashley and be forced to deal with not only closing the distance when you're at range, but also dealing with her size and length in the clinch and on the ground. Now, Emily Ducote is 6 years younger than Ashley Yoder. In addition to being 6 years younger, Emily also has more professional experience than Ashley, with 4 more pro fights and 90 more minutes of professional cage time, coming in 1.5 years less as a professional fighter. So Emily has been the much more active fighter, averaging 2.5 fights a year, while Ashley fights about 1.75 times a year. Add to all that Ashley Yoder is coming off a 2-year and 2-month layoff here. And just before that layoff, she lost a unanimous decision, 30-27 on all 3 judges' scorecards to Jinyu Fry. Emily seems to have more ways to win fights in this particular matchup, at least. She's got 4 wins by submission. She's got 3 wins by knockout, and she's got 5 by decision. While Ashley has never recorded a knockout in her career, she depends on winning by submission or winning decisions. And Emily should be the better striker here, despite being 5 inches shorter and being at a 6-inch reach disadvantage against the southpaw. Emily, on average, has been the busier striker at range, 12% more accurate, 4% more defensively responsible. Look, I mean, Ashley Yoder at this point, she was 3-7 in the UFC before she took these 2 years and 3 months off. Why is she coming back at the age of 36? Maybe just there's more fights on her contract and she's showing up for a check. She's not going to be making a title run at 36 in the straw weight division with a 3-7 UFC record up to this point. She's probably not going to ever win again at this level. I mean, especially after being unanimous decisioned by Jinyu Fry, 30-27 on all 3 scorecards. And Emily Ducote, still only 29 years old. She's got a ton of experience for somebody that's been fighting as long as she has. She's fought a really good level of competition, not just here in the UFC, but on the regional scene, or not regional scene, but in Bellator as well, where she was fighting for the belt there against Ilima-Lei Macfarlane. Emily is just better everywhere at this point. And Yoder is one of these fighters that I felt like if she would have just maybe trained someplace else or got some different coaches, she's got this ridiculous frame. She's a southpaw. She's got a 69-inch reach. She's 5'7". She's absolutely massive for the division. When you watch Ashley strike, everything is straight and right down the pipe. It looks like it's got pop on it. You know, if she would just use her kicks more and do a better job of maintaining distance and using her length, if she was coached up that way in order to be able to come up with that kind of a skill set, she could have done really well at this level. But I mean, I don't think she's going to be getting better at this point in her career. I don't know why she took 2 years off, whether it was injuries or just being sick of the sport and not really. I mean, she's 8-8 as a professional. So, I mean, while Ducote isn't this world beater, she should absolutely have Yoder covered here and should absolutely win this fight. But, if you go back and you watch Emily Ducote's performance against Angela Hill, dude, I mean, I wouldn't lay minus 400 on her after seeing that fight, after knowing that she's capable of pulling a stunt and just completely not showing up. So this, especially with where the line is, everybody, I mean, I'm not touching this fight, but the pick is definitely going to be Emily Ducote to win by decision here. So let's get this page up here. Let me see. Go to the fight night. How do I make a pick here? Oh, I think I go here. Prelim, enter prediction. There we go. Now we got the predictions page up, and we're going to pick Emily Ducote to win this fight by decision. And I just wanted to show you this on the prop template as well. Let me zoom in here so you guys get a real good look. Yoder versus Ducote. We've got these overs juiced up here. Fight goes minus 325, over 2.5, minus 350. And let me see here. We've got, yeah, it is still plus 250 for the fight doesn't go. 10 of 10 fights for Ashley Yoder and 3 of 3 for Emily Ducote at the UFC level. 13 combined fights. Every single one of them has went to decision. So neither one of these ladies has shown much finishing ability at the UFC level when they win. And Ashley Yoder in particular, who has 7 UFC losses, is very durable and has never been finished in any of those losses. So, yeah, that's why, I kind of feel like if you're going to go with Ducote, just maybe pick her by decision to get some of that price off of that money line. But you also have to take into account that Ashley Yoder, there is the possibility that she is just showing up here for a paycheck and is able to just kind of go out there and maybe she will quit this time. But yeah, I'm staying away from this fight, but the pick is definitely Emily Ducote to win by decision. Let's see what you guys are saying in the chat here. We've got my guy. Oh yeah, you saw me on Chris Hansen YouTube video by Crime Watch. Yeah, that was a really good. That's probably what sparked my career here. We got Kiwi Blue. Yeah, I mean, I don't know who they are, but they're having some fun. We got Swinger in the room. What's up with the Swinger? Saying, what's up, Uncle Weezy? Let's stack them this week like flapjacks. We've been doing it 4 weeks in a row. Almost hit 3 parlays in a row, but let's try to get back on that parlay winning streak this week. My guy Swinger in the room from Chicago. Good to see him hanging out in here. And let's go to the next fight. We've got Chris Gutierrez versus Heili Alateng. So let's get these stats up on the screen here. And let's first start talking about Chris Gutierrez. Now, Gutierrez is a minus 400 favorite as of the time that I put these banners together about an hour before the show. Alateng on the comeback plus 300. Fight doesn't go to decision plus 195. And right there, that's something that's odd to see, right? Because we know that the judges can pull some stunts on us every once in a while. So right now, according to my prop template with that line, this fight is predicted to go to decision 71% of the time, according to the line. 71%. So over 7 out of 10 times, they're predicting that this thing goes to decision. And then you want to lay minus 400 on the favorite, knowing that the judges could screw him if they need a parlay buster. So very interesting setup to talk about this fight here. So let's talk about the stats, and let's get them up here. There they are. All right. Chris Gutierrez first. He's going to be the bigger dude. This guy is a huge bantamweight. He's 4 inches taller, and he's going to have a 1-inch reach advantage over Heili. And he has the experience advantage as well here. 60 more minutes in the pro cage, in addition to 4 more fights at the UFC level and over 40 more minutes of octagon time. And then El Guapo has been the better finisher in the UFC, finishing 3 of 7 wins, all by way of knockout. That's a 43% finish rate at the UFC level, while Heili has finished 1 of 4 UFC wins, 25%. And Chris's 9 wins and 0 losses to the knockout in his career. And Heili has been knocked out in 3 of his 8 professional losses. So that's a stat to definitely be aware of here. And Chris is the better striker in this matchup for sure, especially with the minute winning. Chris has the much better distance striking differential. It's positive 2.77 for Chris, while it's negative 1.36 for Heili Alateng. He's got the better distance accuracy, 57.6% to 33%. I mean, like, that is a huge, huge difference in accuracy that you can see right here. And I mean, like, if you just look on the left side here for Gutierrez in the striking stats, you see a lot of green. And if you look over here for Heili, you see a lot of red. So Gutierrez has just been the much better minute winner at distance striking range. And look at that, 57% accurate compared to 33% accurate for Heili. Positive 2.77 significant striking differential here to negative 1.36 for Heili. And he's landing far more strikes per minute at distance as well. He's got 5.87 to only 3.21 for Heili, and he's landing more knockdowns as well. Chris Gutierrez, 5 knockdowns in his 10 UFC fights, and he's landing a knockdown on 0.96% of the distance strikes that he lands, while it's 0.47 for Heili Alateng. Chris's jab is really good, especially when he's fighting another orthodox opponent, which is what he's going to do here. His low leg kicks are brutal. His volume and his defense are both really good, and he can win moments with jump knees like we saw in the Edgar fight, and with his favorite weapon, which is the spinning back fist that we saw him KO Denat Bakary with. What El Guapo does so well is using his kicks to maintain range. He moves well laterally on the outside, keeps a safe distance at kicking range, and he's very accurate and defensively responsible at the same time, which is why he does a great job of winning minutes and sometimes even moments at distance striking range. He uses that lateral movement to deal with pressure, and it really works for him. And Chris has fought and beaten the superior brand of competition, according to my metric. He did get a win over the rotting corpse of Frankie Edgar, which definitely swayed the metrics, but you can't take anything from that highlight reel KO and all-around dominant performance against a UFC legend and Hall of Famer. If Heili beats Gutierrez, it will certainly be the best win of his career. And then Heili Alateng's advantage is Heili is the younger fighter, but by less than a year. Heili has heavy hands and a nasty overhand right. If you put Chris and Heili's distance striking stats side by side, you see how much better Chris is. But Heili and Chris actually have very similar pro records to the decision. So both guys can win minutes, but they do it in different ways. On the feet, Heili waits to land the big shot. He only throws 9.72 distance strike attempts per minute, which is almost 2 strikes less than the divisional average. And he only lands 3.21 per minute, which is about 1.35 less than the divisional average. But when Heili lands, he lands big and with power. His strikes even sound different. So Heili is fine being patient and losing the minutes while he waits to land the bomb that the judges recognize as the most damaging strike of the round. Heili will lose minutes at range here, but he is definitely live to win some moments. And Heili comes from a wrestling background and will be the one more likely to win minutes with his wrestling here. Strangely enough, all 9 of the takedowns he's gotten in the UFC came in the 3rd round of his fights. Heili tends to prefer to box for rounds 1 and 2, then go to the wrestling in round 3 when his opponents are tired. Heili's fights stay standing 87% of the time, So even though he wins 78% of the control time positions his fights are in, it doesn't add up to much at the end of the day. Still, Heili is averaging 1.78 takedowns per 15 minutes, and he's out controlling his opponents at a 3.57 to 1 ratio. So you never know if Heili will wrestle and find some success with it. So in summary, a couple of narrative issues about this fight that need to be addressed. Gutierrez was slated to fight Montel Jackson last week and now takes a fight 1 week later against a much different opponent. Heili Alateng was slated to fight a pure grappler in Hani Yaya on this card, and now he's fighting a pure kickboxer who's much bigger than Yaya and Gutierrez. And Heili trains with Denan Batgary at Fight Ready, and Batgary has recently fought Gutierrez. So Heili should have an idea of how to approach this fight and have some inside information about what Gutierrez does in the cage. All that being said, I've got to favor El Guapo here, Chris Gutierrez. He's the much better striker. Heili's going to be dependent on landing a bomb. Heili doesn't wrestle enough to win minutes with his grappling, and he's much slower and less mobile at distance than Gutierrez, in addition to being 4 inches shorter. I see Heili struggling to close distance here and getting picked apart at range. I'm picking El Guapo to get the win via decision here. Oh, right. Excuse me. Let me just get a sip of this water. So El Guapo by decision is the pick for this fight. He's a minus 400 favorite. So, I mean, that's not a surprising pick, I guess, but you know, Alateng Heili at plus 300. This guy's a good fighter. He's pretty good all around. He's got heavy hands. He's got decent wrestling. He's got good conditioning. He's been in there against some decent opponents. So, you know, I mean, I think plus 300 is really juicy for him. Might be worth a long shot poke on Alateng Heili for a very small amount here, but I think I'm going to be mostly just staying away from this fight. The line is too wide. I think Gutierrez wins, but I'm not willing to pay that kind of juice. Not when Gutierrez opened up as plus 190 underdog for this fight. So, yeah, ton of money coming in on El Guapo here, and I get it, but this line has just gotten a little bit wide for my liking. All right, let's see what you guys are saying in the chat here. So we've got let's see, my guy Andy Short Round is saying, "What's up, Uncle Weezy? I've been donating to the bookies every week. I need a big win." Yeah, well, you know, we got to put in our work and we'll get these wins, man. You know, I mean, we've been with my track picks, I've been up the last 4 weeks, but I was on a losing streak before that, man. You know, we've got to worry about our process over the results, especially for the short term. Stick to, you know, we got to put in the work. We got to leave no stone unturned. And we got to find those spots where the lines appear to be mispriced. Be a little bit agnostic about who we like and who we don't like, and pick those spots where the price of the line is less than what it should be. And we've got Frank Bryan in the room saying, "Uncle Weezy, any chance Barboza survives all 5 rounds?" Yeah, I mean, I think there's a chance. He's had 3 UFC fights that were scheduled for 5 rounds. The one against Kevin Lee went all into the 5th round, but it didn't finish. Or I mean, I'm sorry, it didn't go to decision. Lee got a 5th round finish there. I mean, there's always a chance. And if we look here at the prop template, Frank, we could see that featherweight fights that are scheduled for 5 rounds, they finish inside the distance about 57% of the time. We're paying 71%. So while all 3 of Barboza's fights have finished inside the distance that were scheduled for 5 rounds, it's a small sample size. So while I do really think stylistically somebody gets served in this fight, somebody gets knocked out, I wouldn't be laying minus 250 on it. Maybe parlaying it for a tiny bit of money. But other than that, man, I would stay away from betting violence at this particular price. A ton of money has come in on it. And at this particular price, I think it's a little expensive. Yeah, I know. Bob's saying minus 400. What? Yeah, that was ridiculous. Michael Martinez missed the line on him last night at minus 250. Bob got minus 160 on Gutierrez. You did your job, Bob. Really well done. And like I said, he opened at plus 190. And then all this money just kind of came in on Gutierrez. So I think that might have been a mistake opener. I think they actually might have just planned on opening him at minus 190 and then just put the plus there by accident. I don't know, but Michael's saying, what book puts UFC lines first? It's Bet Online. Bet Online is the book that usually opens the money lines, and it almost always opens up the prop markets. Bob saying, but he usually fights kind of close, and Alateng is tough, so minus 400 is madness, and I couldn't agree more. I think it's madness as well. We got Bob saying Bet Online, yes. Remdog saying, Munoz showed you got to be in El Guapo's face with the pressure to beat him. And Heili just doesn't fight like that. Yeah, he pressures some, does Heili, but he's not just walking you down like a zombie. And that's what you need to do when you're fighting a kicker. You got to crowd the kicker. And Heili, probably will try to pressure more than usual in this fight, but I don't know. It's a rough matchup for him. Sometimes Bovada does get them out early, yes. Weezy, I lost 16 units on Contender Series. How do I recover from this? One day at a time, dude. One day at a time. 16 units is more than I would have on any card. Maybe I've had 16 units on a card before, but on a Contender Series card, the thing is that these guys, bankroll management is so important. So the way that you recover from this is by not making mistakes like that again, where you have that many units on a card with all regional scene fighters, where you've got only a small amount of tape. Everybody's watching that same tape. Everybody can comb through that small sample size of statistics the same way. And most people come to the same conclusion. Lines get overjuiced, and these guys are unreliable because they're early in their career. So the way that you recover from this is by not making the mistake of laying 16 units on a regional scene card, on a Contender Series card. Michael saying, although I use the books and the lines were already juiced by the time they come out. I know. It's hard to beat these line movements. You've got to really be like a professional. You got to be watching the screen 24/7. LPX saying, is Daniel the psycho in the house? Daniel? Let me look. He might be. Depends. There's always some psychos in the chat here. But there's as far as the psycho in the house, Daniel, I don't know what you're talking about, dude. Sorry. Daz File saying marathon, not a sprint. That's right. Yeah. We got Remdog saying find a 1600 plus prop and lay a unit on it. I kid, says Remdog. Yeah, don't do that. Put 32 units on Chris Gutierrez. Yeah, don't do that either. So is Lacerda a contestant for the ass shaving of the week, or maybe Marotte? You will find out at the end of the show today, Michael. But let's keep moving here on to the next fight. We've got Irina Alekseeva at plus 130 going up against Melissa Dixon at minus 150. Fight doesn't go to decision for this fight. Is at plus money, plus 110. I think the under 2.5 can still be had at plus 140 on Bet Online Sportsbook. So let's get these stats up here. We got Melissa Dixon going to be making her debut here. Let's first start talking about Irina Alekseeva, though. She's got a bit more professional experience. She's got one more pro fight, 7 more minutes in the cage, 2 more years as a pro fighter. She's also made her UFC debut already, while this will be Dixon's debut. On the feet, Irina is awkward and difficult to prepare for. She pressures, she throws a lot of volume, and it comes from all angles. In this particular matchup, I think it's entirely possible she'll be the better minute and moment winner on the feet. So her awkward style and penchant for swinging for the fences could kind of make her dangerous in this spot. And Irina's a tricky submission grappler. She's 2 wins and 0 losses to the submission in her career. Her nickname is Russian Ronda, so she obviously loves going for the arm bar. But it was a cheeky belly down knee bar that we saw her win her UFC debut with. Who knows? Maybe it was a fluke, but it came against Stephanie Edgar, a credentialed ADCC grappler and European judo champion. So maybe it wasn't a fluke either. It's hard to know at this point. We haven't seen enough of her at the UFC level to really have a fully formed opinion of her skill set. But that was an interesting debut performance, to say the least. I mean, coming in 4 pounds heavy with that bullshit haircut, those weird ass dance moves, just really weird antics, and all around everything about this woman is just strange and not particularly likable either. But yeah, we kind of have to find out more information about her. And then there's no mess Mullins, Melissa Dixon. And, she's going to be 1 year younger than Irina. She's going to have a 3-inch reach advantage. And Melissa has power for real. She's strong as fuck for the weight class, and she's bounced between featherweight and bantamweight in her career. Melissa's 3 wins and no losses to the knockout in her career. And whether she's on the feet at distance striking range or she's landing ground and pound from top control, she's mean and she hits hard, does Melissa. And she does a great job of using her judo in the clinch to get trips, sweeps, and reaps. Her best takedowns are body locks, where she gets you moving in one direction. And when you resist the movement going that way, she changes directions, trips you to your back, and gets on top. Melissa has a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu brown belt. And when she gets to top control, she does a great job of staying on top, landing damaging ground and pound. And that ground and pound, because it's so hard and damaging, has the potential to open up her submission attempts. Melissa will have to look out for sub attempts from Russian Ronda if she does get this fight to the ground. But her heavy top control and solid submission defense should definitely help her in this matchup. Now, this should be a fun fight that I think has really good chance finishing of inside the distance. I like the power. I like the clinch takedown game, the top control, and the ground and pound, and the conditioning of Melissa Dixon. While Irina is a wild card that will always be throwing unorthodox offense and submissions at you as long as her conditioning holds up. Irina has missed weight in her last 2 fights, and Melissa was scheduled to fight Giselle Mojera in April, and that fight was canceled due to Dixon missing weight. So I will want to see both of these ladies on the scale before I commit to an educated opinion on who wins this fight. But at the moment, I think I'll go with the wild, unorthodox, volume-based striking and submission game of Alekseeva here. Her hair is terrible. Her dancing is even worse. But she's a tough opponent to prepare for, and she can catch you with her moment-winning style so many different ways. So I'll pick her to get the job done here by first-round submission. Fight doesn't go to decision at plus money is an interesting look, but I don't have any bets on this fight. If I was to do a bet on this fight, it probably would be the under 2.5 rounds, or even an alternative under 1.5 rounds at plus money. I think both of these ladies are kind of live to finish this fight. But as far as who's going to win the fight, it's kind of hard to be confident about that pick. Dixon's making her debut. She only has 5 professional fights. And then Alekseeva made a debut that lasted 2 minutes, and she's only got 6 professional fights. So the pick is going to be Alekseeva by first-round submission with very little confidence. But I think the bet for this one would be just the fight doesn't go to decision or the under 2.5 rounds here. So Russian Ronda by first round submission, and I wish she kept that haircut. That haircut is just infinitely better than the one that she came into the cage with last time around. Let's see what you guys are saying in the chat here. Let's see. We've got Real Fight Pick saying Melissa Dixon did not impress me. Please tell me why Irina is a dog. I have Irina Alekseeva. Melissa, she's good. She's big. She's strong for the division. She's got a BJJ brown belt. She throws with power on the feet. But yeah, the striking doesn't look real clean. It doesn't look real technical. She's been pieced up at range, in particular in the Zheleznyakova fight. And I get why you have Irina. And if she's at plus money here, with plus 130, I don't see why, it's not the worst shot to take a shot on her, because, like I say, she's very unorthodox. She's very different the way that she fights. So, maybe she can find a moment here to win that fight. Frank Bryan saying, "You're the man, Uncle Weezy. Like and subscribe." Appreciate you, Frank. Thanks for hanging out with us tonight. We got Kiwi saying, "Elkins will have the Clippers this week." I like Elkins this week, Kiwi. You know that, my man. Yeah, the guy may have been in a wheelchair a few months ago, but hey, if there's anybody that can get up and rise like Lazarus from the dead, like the phoenix from the ashes from that wheelchair, it's our guy, Darren the Damage Elkins. We've got Remdog saying, "Is this a trap? Everyone saw Irina beat Edgar at plus 270 or so, and she's still a dog against a debutante." Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it is a trap. I mean, maybe Melissa Dixon's a lot better than everybody, than she's shown thus far on tape, but I don't know, man. I don't know. We're going to find out on Saturday. Real Fight Pick saying Irina's dance moves were pretty good, in my opinion. I thought they were horrible. Just horrible. And some of the special effects on those Instagram videos, I would show you those videos, but I would probably get my channel banned. So I am not going to do that. But yeah, the dance videos, the dance moves, I'm going to have to disagree with you on that one, Real Fight Picks. But, dance moves are a matter of personal preference, so there's no right or wrong answer there. Sneery is saying, up until that knee bar, she looked very confident. She was bringing the fight to Edgar. I'm leaning Irina, but may force myself to watch some more tape. Yeah, that might hurt watching tape on Irina Alekseeva, but always good to leave no stone unturned. JJ saying Dixon mainly likes to wrestle. Yes, and she does her best wrestling from the clinch. Don't really see her out there getting single legs or double legs. I see her using her striking to get in the clinch, getting her opponent's back pressed up against the cage, and then starting to use to mess with her opponent's base in order to get those takedowns, get those sweeps, trips, reaps, those kind of throws. Sneery is saying, to me, Elkins looked stuck in the mud his last bout. I think Father Time lapping him while he's 38 years old. JJ saying Dixon was getting pieced up on the feet before her ground and pound win over Daria. Yes, she was. She got busted up pretty good in that fight by Zheleznyakova. All right, guys, let's move on to the next fight here, which is going to be Terrance T-Rex McKinney. Wow, I misspelled that one pretty good, but that's fine. Against Brendon Marotte, plus 375. The fight doesn't go to decision. We don't have that yet. Let me see if Bet Online has opened it. It does not look like they have. Yeah, they haven't. Still no time props on this, but the under 1.5 will probably get juiced up to like minus 200, minus 225 or something like that, just because it's a Terrance McKinney fight. But let's see here. Let's get the stats up on the screen, and we're going to first start talking about T-Rex, Terrance McKinney. And he's got all the advantages in this fight, everybody. He's the bigger dude. He's the natural lightweight, while Marotte used to fight at featherweight and is taking this fight on short notice. Terrance has the experience advantage. He's got 11 more pro fights, a couple more months as a pro, so he's been the much busier fighter. In addition, Terrance has the UFC experience advantage, 7 more fights, 20 more minutes in the octagon in comparison to Marotte here. And Terrance is the more explosive and opportunistic finisher. He's finished 100% of his pro wins inside the distance. He's got 8 submissions and 6 knockouts, with all but one of those wins coming in the first round. Terrance fights like he's double parked, and if the fight goes past 5 minutes, he has a near 0% chance to win. Terrance has power on the feet, elite wrestling, and a very good submission game. Just don't ask him to last more than 5 minutes. On the feet, early in fights, T-Rex has power. He's got 6 pro wins by way of knockout, and we saw him spark Matt Frevola in 7 seconds and absolutely dismantle Mike Breeden on the feet. Terrance is landing a knockdown on 3.17% of the distance strikes that he lands, and he's got a positive 1.69 distance striking differential, landing 6.66 distance strikes per minute while attempting 16.27. He stays busy and active, and he throws with bad intentions. And Terrance has elite wrestling. He was ranked nationally in high school, and in the UFC, he's averaging 3.31 takedowns per 15 minutes on 8.6 attempts. And he's outcontrolled his opponents 49% to 10%, winning over 83% of the control time positions that his fights have been in. He's 8 wins and 2 losses to the submission in his career. So once he uses that wrestling to get fights to the ground, he's an expert at getting to his opponent's backs and finishing with the rear naked choke, like he did in the Ziam fight. 6 of his 8 career wins by submission come by way of rear naked choke. And Terrance has fought the much better brand of competition, and it isn't even close compared to Marotte. Now, Marotte is going to be 2 years younger than Terrance, and he's going to have the better conditioning, as McKinney can only fight in an effective fashion for about 3 to 4 minutes. If Brendon can weather the early storm here, he's very live to get a second or a third round finish against Terrance, who has shown zero heart and durability as a professional. And he's been finished in all 6 of his pro losses. And he's 1 win and 3 losses in career fights that have gone past the first round. From what I've seen on tape, Brendon looks like a decent prospect. He's well-rounded. He's a good boxer. He's got decent takedowns, good conditioning, good durability. Now, this is another fun fight. The one thing we know about these New England cartel guys is that they are durable and scrappy, and I haven't seen one of them show any desire to quit. And that is such an important quality to have as a fighter if you're going to be matched up against a guy like Terrance McKinney, who only has the ability to fight effectively for about 4 minutes. If you can weather the storm, you can beat him. But can you weather the storm? Terrance is the definition of explosive. He's a finisher. He's dangerous wherever the fight goes. He has power. He has speed. He has volume. He has elite wrestling and a functional, effective Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu submission game. He brings hell from the bell, and he drowns you early in the fight. Brendon has taken this fight on less than 1 week's notice, up a weight class. Well, no, he has. His last 3 fights have been at lightweight, actually, but prior to that, he fought it at featherweight. So getting thrown into the fire in your debut against an animal like T-Rex, where composure and calmness are so important, is such a tall order for this young man of only 26 years old and 9 pro fights. Minus 500, though, for a guy like Terrance, who has so many glaring weaknesses. And I mean, just really the conditioning and ability to be able to push a pace for more than 4 minutes. It's not something I'm willing to do here either. But I still do have to pick Terrance McKinney to win this fight by first round submission. I think it's just more likely that if you're fighting a guy from the New England cartel, you got a much better chance of finishing this guy by submission than you do by knockout, because these cartel cats are so tough. But yeah, I'm going with McKinney by first round submission, and maybe I'll look to play some of those props on this fight. You know, I mean, like, well, you know, we won't know what they are for a little bit, and you'll probably have to wait for them to open on a book that's not Bet Online, because Bet Online's too sharp to give you any kind of juicy number on McKinney round 1. So yeah, McKinney first round sub is the pick. We'll see how this one shakes out. All right, let's see what you guys are saying in the chat. My guy Cole Stein is in the room. He's got the T-Rex there. What is up, Cole Stein? We got JJ saying, I agree, Snerius. I think the damage is finally taken too much thereof. Yeah, man. Elkins is taking a ton of damage. Jenna Marie saying, Oi, Weezy. What's up, Jenna? Thank you for hanging out with us tonight. Hope all is well. We got Bob saying, damn, I hate TJ Brown so bad, but I can't deny he surprised me against Algio before getting his ass shaved in round 2, that is. Yeah, man. I mean, TJ Brown's a pretty solid fighter. Good kickboxing, pretty good conditioning, pretty good wrestling. He's got a very good submission game. A lot of wins by arm triangle choke, 10 wins to the submission for TJ Brown. It's just that you look at how many losses he has in his career and his ability to be able to make mistakes and leave openings for his opponents. Man, against a guy like Elkins, who's so difficult to finish, and TJ Brown's not finishing anybody at the UFC level. I mean, other than Eric Silva, who's a 33-year-old guy with like 4 professional fights. Yeah, this is an interesting fight because, well, we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about the Elkins fight. Cuban Assassin in the room saying, "What it do, Weezy?" Hopefully, they don't have Felder commentating since he's a New England Cartel groupie and his bias shows every time. Yeah, but Felder trained at Rufus Sport. He's not a New England Cartel guy. He didn't train there, but I'm sure he loves those guys. And, Paul, I think, is like a Philly cat. So he's out there in that neck of the woods with those guys, in Boston, in New York, in Philly, so Paul's definitely knows a lot of those camps. And he's also trained in Wisconsin with the Rufus Sport guys. But we'll see who's calling these fights. It's going to be an interesting one in Vegas this week. All right, you guys. Hey, we got 48 of you hanging out live here on a Tuesday night. Do me a favor, hit that thumbs up if you haven't already. Hit that subscribe if you haven't already so you don't miss out on any of the great content here on this channel. Leave me a comment down below. Let me know what your lock of the week is. Let me know if you disagree or you agree with any of the picks. Maybe put a parlay together. Maybe just yell "oi" at me, but do me a favor, leave me a comment, and I appreciate you guys watching. Let's talk about this next fight, which is going to be Tainara Lisboa and minus 320 going up against Ravena Oliveira at plus 270. The fight doesn't go to decision for this fight, minus 180. So are we? Yeah, we're up to date there. So let's get these stats up on the screen for you guys. And we're going to first start talking about Tainara Lisboa. Tainara should be the bigger girl here. She's the more natural bantamweight. She bounced back and forth between 135 and 145 on the regional scene, while Oliveira has bounced back and forth between 125 and 135. We don't have official measurements on Oliveira yet, but Lisboa is listed at 1 inch taller than her. Tainara has a small UFC experience advantage with one more fight and almost 15 more minutes of octagon time as Oliveira is making her UFC debut on about 1 month's notice as a replacement for Daria Železniakova. Both ladies have 100% finish rates in their wins as professionals. However, it's Lisboa who has 3 knockouts and 3 submissions, and Oliveira is more KO dependent at 6 knockouts and 1 submission. So I'd say Lisboa is more dangerous wherever the fight goes and the more opportunistic finisher. And Lisboa is definitely the better striker. Ravena can scrap, but Lisboa is clean, technical, and powerful. She always throws in combination when she's in the pocket, and she has heavy hands. Lisboa has a high-level Muay Thai background, so striking has always been her MMA base, and it shows. Tainara is also strong in the clinch and has great knees from there, and she also gets her takedowns from body locks in the clinch as well. And Lisboa has the better submission game. She has 1 rear naked choke and 2 arm triangle chokes wins on her resume, and she does a good job of maintaining position over submission when she gets top control, and she shows solid ground and pound as well. Lisboa has shown she can be taken down and controlled, but she does have a functional Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu game, and if she gets on top, she does excellent work. Now, Ravena Oliveira is going to be 6 years younger than Tainara Lisboa, and she's a decent fighter. She's not spectacular anywhere, but she's also not at a huge deficit anywhere either. And from the little I saw of her on tape, she's got solid conditioning, and that's such an important attribute for any fighter making their debut to possess. Ravena throws with power on the feet, but she's not technical. Her punches are loopy, but she does throw in combination, and she's trying to take your head off, so she can be dangerous, as evidenced by her 6 pro wins by way of knockout. Ravena has also shown the ability to win minutes in the clinch and get takedowns from that position as well. But this is a big step up in competition for Ravena Oliveira, and it's on short notice. She's smaller, she's less powerful, and had a massive striking deficiency against Tainara Lisboa. And Tainara should be the stronger and more effective fighter in the clinch, and the one who's more likely to get takedowns from that position and get to top control. Ravena is 6 years younger. She's got a solid all-around game with good conditioning, and she's scrappy. But honestly, I think Tainara is better everywhere than Ravena Oliveira, and she's definitely fought the much better brand of competition. and she's already made her UFC debut. Ravena is tough. I think she survives to the bell, so I'll pick Tainara Lisboa to win this fight by decision. And this or under is juiced up pretty good here. So I think that the bookies think there's a better than 50% chance that this fight finishes inside the distance, but I'm actually going to pick Lisboa to win by decision because Oliveira has been subbed once in her career, but it was by Ezekiel choke at the very end of a round against Waleska Sosa, I believe, was who beat her. But either way, I actually thought the fight was a 1-round fight that had went to decision because I didn't even see the tap. I didn't even realize that she had gotten finished in that fight. But yeah, I think this one is going to go to decision. So we'll see how it goes. But yeah, Tainara Lisboa by decision is the pick. Let's see what you guys are saying in the chat here. We've got Michael Martinez saying, I think Petroski is a candidate for an ass shaving. His striking looked pretty robotic against GM3. He might get a Brazilian wax job, says Michael Martinez. We got local man shakes fist in the room saying, oh, what is happening, man? And Remdog saying, Ravena has only fought one fighter with a win in her pro career. But if they let her wear that Wonder Woman outfit, I would consider a dog shot. Yeah, they're not going to let her wear the Wonder Woman outfit in the UFC, but yeah, so maybe it won't be worth the dog shot here on Ravena Oliveira, as I do think that Tainara Lisboa is a very good fighter. I think that she's going to be making some noise in this division, which isn't a big prediction or anything like that, because the bantamweight division is in shambles right now for the female division. So, yeah, I think Tainara can make a run here. She's good all around. She's powerful. And she's got a base that if she can keep the fight standing and keep the fight at distance striking range, there's not a lot of women at 135 that are going to be giving her problems there. And Frank Bryan saying, does Islam beat Volk again? I mean, I think he might, Frank, but it's short notice for Volk. I hate this matchup. I hate the fact that Oliveira pulled out here because I think that was the fight that I wanted to see more at this point, because I want to see Volk fight Oliveira, or I mean, I want to see Volk fight Islam on a full camp. That's what I want to see. I don't want to see him fighting Islam on 10 days notice, not when the first fight was so close. So yeah, and if these guys just wind up 3-4 times, it's going to hold up the lightweight division, it's going to hold up the featherweight division. So I don't think it's good for either division right now. And so yeah, I don't like it. I think this is truly unfortunate that things worked out this way. But either way, let's move on to talking about the next fight here, which is going to be one we've already been talking about. Darren the Damage Elkins at plus 152 going up against Downtown TJ Brown at minus 177. The fight doesn't go to decision for this fight. Minus 110. Okay. Let's first start talking once we get the stats up here about our guy, Darren the Damage Elkins. Now, he's got the experience advantage. He's got 9 more pro fights, almost 170 more minutes in the cage with 7 more years as a professional fighter. Darren also has 20 more UFC level fights and around 200 more minutes in the UFC octagon. And he's very durable, his Darren Elkins. TJ isn't really a finisher at the UFC level, so if someone gets a finish here, it should be Elkins, as Darren has only been submitted once in 38 professional fights, and it was by Charles Oliveira. Darren is an elite MMA wrestler. He's getting 2.74 takedowns per 15 minutes on 8.39 attempts. He outcontrols his opponents 31.8% to 16.2%, winning over 66% of the control time positions his fights have been in. He can push that pace for the full 15 minutes and hang on you and wear on you. Darren never quits, and he refuses to fuck off. In addition, Darren is the better submission grappler. He's 5 wins and 1 loss to the submission, while TJ Brown is 10 wins and 4 losses to the submission. Darren is 10 wins and 2 losses in the UFC when he gets more than 120 seconds of control time, more than 2 minutes of control time in a fight, and Darren is 10 and 2. And TJ Brown has allowed more than 120 seconds of control time to his opponents in 5 of his 7 UFC fights. Darren does his best work when he's wrestling and in wearing on you, and this matchup looks tailor-made for him to do exactly that. In addition, strength of schedule. I mean, Darren has fought, beaten, and lost to the much better brand of UFC competition, and it isn't even close. He's got a huge strength of schedule advantage here over TJ Brown. Now, TJ Brown is 6 years younger than Darren, and he's going to have a 1-inch reach advantage. He's going to be the bigger dude here. And he's by far the more explosive athlete in this matchup. He grew up playing football into his college years, and then he made the transition to MMA. He's younger, faster, and more explosive, and it will show in the cage against the shop-worn Elkins. TJ should be the better striker. In the UFC, he has a positive 0.55 distance striking differential with 40% accuracy and 53% defense. He is a volume monster, attempting 17 and a half distance strikes per minute. He switches stances on the feet. He stays very busy, and he does a good job of mixing his kicks with his punches. Elkins is easy to hit, as is TJ, but TJ should be the busier and more TJ should be busier and a lot more accurate while this fight is at distance striking range. And the optics of Elkins inevitably bleeding will also look good for TJ as well. So I do see TJ being the minute winner here at distance striking range. And TJ is a BJJ black belt, and he's got 10 career wins by way of submission. And he's also done a good job of getting fights to the ground efficiently, as he's 53% accurate on his takedowns, getting 3.2 per 15 minutes on 6.07 attempts. He's also outcontrolling his opponents 34% to 25%, winning 57% of the control time positions his fights have been in. He does his best work from top control, and his favorite submission is the arm triangle choke. 7 of his 10 submission wins come by way of that arm triangle, and the other 3 come by way of rear naked choke. So this is a very interesting and fun fight. Who knows how much Elkins has left in the tank, but you know he will give it his all every time he steps in the octagon. Elkins is a UFC legend who has the most fights in the UFC featherweight history, and he never quits. And like I said, he never fucks off. So TJ is a talented and explosive athlete and well-rounded fighter. He's got solid striking. He's got good wrestling and submissions. However, he has horrible fight IQ and an even worse haircut. I like TJ's youth. I like his athletic ability. I like his striking advantage, and I like his conditioning. Darren, though, has the experience. He's got the way better wrestling and minute winning in the grappling exchanges. He's got the durability, and he's got the heart. He's fought and beaten the way better brand of UFC competition in addition to that. This line makes no sense to me. TJ wasn't even minus 200 versus Eric Silva. And now he's minus 210 to Elkins, who absolutely can out wrestle and wear down Brown on his way to a decision. And if anyone gets a submission here, it's Elkins. Plus 180 on the money line for Elkins is crazy. So I took the shot. TJ Brown has 29% takedown defense in the UFC. And Elkins is exactly the kind of fighter who can not only exploit the bad takedown defense, but also the poor submission defense and fight IQ of Brown. So there's no way I'm passing on Elkins at plus 180 here. I'll pick Darren Elkins to win this fight. What other way? By third round submission, you guys. Let's go. One more ride for the fighting pride of Portage, Indiana. 1 unit on the Darren the Damage Elkins money line at plus 180 for your Uncle Weezy this week. And I'm picking him to win it by third round submission. And I'm probably going to put a little bit on that prop as well when it does drop. Let's see what Darren Elkins by third round submission is on Bet Online. plus 2,000, which means on books that have good props, it'll probably be something more like plus 4,000. So I might throw a quarter unit on that to win 10 and just swing for the fences, close my eyes, and hope I make good contacts because Darren Elkins can absolutely stick around long enough in this fight by being durable, by refusing to be submitted. In order to find that one mistake that TJ Brown inevitably will make. So, yeah, Elkins' third round submission is going to be the pick here, everybody. Right. Submission round 3. Let's see what you guys are saying in the chat. We got Michael saying TJ looked good against Bill Algeo. I'll go with TJ by decision. Yeah, I think if TJ wins, it's going to be by decision, because Elkins is very difficult to finish, and TJ's not even finishing like, average UFC, below average UFC fighters. Remdog saying, I like the over 2.5. Just hope they don't stop it because Elkins starts leaking too much. Yeah, I like the over 2.5 as well, but I honestly think that the Elkins finish only prop is also a very good look. And my guy Brady saying one last ride. Then he rolls off into the sunset on his wheelchair. Brady and I showed the wheelchair pick basically the entire time that we were breaking this fight down on Stat Diggers. It was hilarious. One of my favorite fight breakdowns ever was the Darren Elkins fight breakdown on Stat Diggers this week. The link to that is in the description. Go check it out. One of my favorites of all time. Anyway, you guys, let's move on to the next fight here. It's a banger between two prospects. We got Christian Rodriguez at minus 145 squaring off against MSP Cameron Saaiman at plus 125. We got the fight doesn't go to decision here, plus money at plus 120 for this fight. So first, let's start talking about C-Rod, Christian Rodriguez, and his advantages. He's going to have a very handy 4-inch reach advantage in this fight over Cameron Saaiman. And Christian's a really good striker. He's got heavy hands and he throws in combination. He's a very accurate and dangerous counter striker. C-Rod is 3 wins and 0 losses to the knockout in his pro career. And in the UFC, he's boasting a positive 1.48 distance striking differential. He's got 37% accuracy and way above average 66% distance striking defense. Christian's grappling game is very good. We just saw him out-grapple the young phenom and Raul Rosas for 2 out of 3 rounds. But outside of that performance, he's shown good takedown defense outside of the Johnathan Pierce fight, which was up a weight class on short notice against the killer. If you include the Reyes-Cortez fight and you eliminate the Pierce fight that C-Rod took on short notice, C-Rod has over 75% takedown defense. The front choke series this kid has is very dangerous. We saw him finish Weems with his Anaconda series, and we almost saw him get Pierce in a gilly. And against Reyes-Cortez, we saw him timing step-in knees when Reyes would change levels. Christian doesn't offensively wrestle much, but he does use it in reverse very well, and he can use his gilly or Anaconda series to defend takedowns or be offensive in scrambles. I think Christian is the more dangerous submission grappler in this fight. And Christian has faced the better level of competition in and out of the UFC in comparison to Cameron. Definitely like the strength of schedule advantage that he has in this spot. Now, MSP Cameron Saaiman is 3 years younger, and he's 1 inch taller than Christian Rodriguez. And Cameron is nothing short of elite conditioning. It cannot be understated how important this is. Cam pushes a nasty pace on his opponents, and he never gets tired. He knows how to use it as a weapon, and he turns up his pace and output as the fight goes on. He throws 16.87 distance strike attempts per minute. That's 5.2 more than the divisional average, and he attempts 5.21 more distance strike. He attempts 5.21 more distance strikes per minute than his opponents do. So he stays a lot busier. He outlands them by 2.92 per minute. And you better do your road work and be in shape if you're going to fight this kid, because Cam's conditioning is elite, and that is huge. And Cam's a former South African K1 kickboxing champ, and it shows. At the UFC level, Cam has a positive 2.92 distance striking differential. He's got 44.5% accuracy and almost 61% defense. He's landing a knockdown on 0.93% of the distance strikes that he lands. And what Cam does best is combine the following three qualities: pressure, durability, and output. He's a southpaw. His left hand is very powerful, but it's the 16.87 distance strike attempts per minute and that positive 5.21 distance strike attempt differential that really sets him apart on the feet. He's always moving forward, throwing in combination, able to trust his chin. And if you slow down against him later in fights, you're fucked, son. Fucked. So Cam can definitely swim on the ground too. Even though he's only attempted 20% of the takedowns in his UFC fights, he's still winning almost 68% of the control time positions. Cam has 7 reverses in his 3 UFC fights, and he's averaging 3.24 reverses per 15 minutes. So even if you can take Cam down, he's difficult to keep there, and he finds ways to reverse positions and then win minutes when he's on top. Cam's submission defense held up against a tricky grappler in Steven Kozlow in his UFC debut. So between Dana White Contender Series and the UFC, Christian Rodriguez has had 3 fights scheduled at bantamweight, and he's missed weight in 2 of them. We're going to have to see how C-Rod's weight cut goes when he weighs in and how he looks. These guys are extremely well matched. I like C-Rod's 4-inch reach advantage. I like his power. I like that crisp, accurate striking and counter striking. And I like his grappling game and front choke series. Plus, I think he's fought the better brand of competition in his career. On the Saaiman side, I love the youth. I love the conditioning. I love the durability, and I love the output, the pace, the pressure that he brings, and that all-around well-rounded game and confidence that comes along with being an undefeated 22-year-old. Saaiman's conditioning is going to be huge here. Right now, as I'm writing this, C-Rod is minus 158 on BetOnline. I did bet C-Rod's finish-only prop here at a pick'em to win 1 unit, and I'm favoring him to win this fight. But I think this fight goes to decision unless C-Rod gets a sub. And it does go to decision. I think the optics by the way of Saaiman, because of the way Saaiman fights, is going to serve him well. This is a tough fight and very close to call. But I'm picking C-Rod to win this fight because I favor his finishing ability and his level of competition thus far. As long as his weight cut goes well, I'll pick him to win. So if C-Rod's weight cut goes bad, though, I think Cameron Saaiman by decision at plus 250 is very interesting here. But my pick is going to be Christian Rodriguez to win this fight by decision. But like I say, if Christian's the last one to weigh in, if he looks like death on the scale, I'm going to take a shot at Cameron Saaiman to win by decision. Let's see what you guys are saying in the chat here. We've got Michael saying, I can't believe Saaiman is a dog. Saaiman isn't going to blow his wad like Rosas Jr. did. I got Saaiman for that dog money. He should be a favorite. These guys are well matched. This is such a good fight. But definitely the thing that I like most about Saaiman is that conditioning. Justin is saying, Pool Boy may not have Drickus with him, but I like him as a dog. So if Saaiman wins this, do you give him Rosas Jr.? I don't know, man. I think they're going to be a lot. No, you don't. No, they're not going to give Rosas Jr. to Saaiman. Simon's too good. They're gonna build up Rosas Jr. and giving him a lot more of these Terrance Mitchell type fights. He's still only 19 years old now, I think. So yeah, they've got to build him up slowly. Local man Shakes Fist said, The line makes no sense. Pick them, I'd understand, but who would bet on C-Rod at minus 170? There's a lot of people out there doing it, but yeah, I bet the finish only prop on Christian Rodriguez at minus 110 here. I think he's more durable, and I think he's a lot more likely to finish this fight by submission. But I think that this fight's very, very close, and I really want to see what C-Rod looks like on the scales. We got Brava saying, in my eyes, this is the best fight on the card. So hyped for this one. My two favorite bantamweight prospects. I think I'm going with Saaiman here. This is such a good fight, Brava. I cannot wait. Two fantastic, phenomenal prospects here. Andy saying, damn it, I had TJ Brown in my parlays. I think I'm fucked. TJ Brown's terrible, Andy. He's terrible. I can't believe he's minus 200 literally against anybody in the UFC. Like I said, I picked him to win against Eric Silva, who is a 34-year-old guy who made his debut in MMA, I think at the age of 31, and was fighting a bunch of Central and South American cans before he got to the UFC. So, you know, TJ Brown being minus 140 against that guy, and then being minus 210 against a legend in Elkins who can exploit the takedown defense that TJ Brown has. I don't understand why the line is where it is. But, you know, TJ Brown is younger. I mean, Darren Elkins is old. He's shop worn. He's taken a ton of damage. You know, so would it be shocking if TJ went out there and cleaned his clock? No, it wouldn't be that shocking. But I mean, I've got to assume that Darren Elkins is going to be in fighting shape and ready to go like he always is in every UFC fight. So we'll see how this one goes. And my guy, Victor De Jesus, C-Rod or homeless for him. I looked at all the bets that my guy Vic has. He's got a ton of units on the money line. He's got some units on the sub prop, and he's got some units like I do on the finish only prop. So we'll see how this one goes, but I think you're going to wind up okay, Vic. C-Rod's a stud, man. All right, you guys, next fight. Let's get into it here. It is going to be Edgar Chairez versus Daniel Lacerda. Chairez right now is minus 360, which is hilarious. And Daniel Lacerda plus 295. Fight doesn't go to decision. Juice to the tits here at minus 550. All right. So we've already talked about this fight. This fight already happened. I have notes on it. It's the same notes that I read when these guys fought 2 weeks ago. We don't need to spend a lot of time on this fight. Edgar Chairez probably wins this fight for one reason. He's durable. And Daniel Lacerda is not. So whichever guy is able to weather the storm or has the higher probability of weathering the storm in this matchup probably wins. And that person is Edgar Chairez, because Chairez has never been knocked out in his career. He has been subbed twice, but one of them was in the 5th round by guillotine to one Jesus Aguilar. And I think the other one is also against a recognizable name, but it doesn't even matter. It was a long time ago. These guys fought 2 weeks ago, and Chairez finished him via guillotine in the 1st round, but Lacerda said that he wasn't out, even though his arm went limp. An unfortunate situation, but I don't see Lacerda being able to get Chairez out of there, because Chairez is stupid durable early in fights, and if he's unable to get him out of there, and we know that Daniel Lacerda doesn't have the skill set to win minutes at this level and fight a game plan that will allow him to be able to win a decision, that I got to believe that Chairez gets the job done here in the 2nd round by knockout or submission. But the line is ridiculous. Edgar Chairez should not be minus 360 against anybody in the UFC. This guy's frankly not very good. He's got good striking. He's got a serviceable submission game. He's got okay conditioning. He's got good durability. But he's 10-5. He's 10-5. I mean, I don't even know. Let's see who he's lost to in his career. So he's lost to Tainara. He lost to Clayton Carpenter on the Contender Series. He lost to Jesus Aguilar in round number 5. He lost to Alberto Trujillo, and he lost to somebody named Axel Osuna. The wins are over Gianni Vasquez, Roberto Guerrero, Ivan Hernandez Flores, Mefi Monteroso, David Ruiz, Alejandro Salazar, Alan Garcia. I mean, like, you hear who's laying minus 360 on Edgar Chairez? I don't get that. I mean, at least Lacerda's dangerous. Lacerda's a good finisher. He's got submissions. He swings for the fences on the feet. Either way, man, this is a fight that, and let me leave you with this. The rematch almost always looks a lot different than the first fight. These guys are professionals. They make adjustments. They find out things in the cage the first time. They make adjustments based on what they learned. These guys are all different fighters by the time they get to their next fight because of the fact that they're professionals, that they're working with the best coaches and training partners in the world, and they're always getting better. And every time they show up for a fight, they're an even better version of themselves. So this fight probably doesn't take place exactly like the last one does. And you probably don't get the same result this time. Not meaning that Lacerda wins, but this one, could go into the second round. It could go into the third round. You could see Lacerda win. You could see Chairez getting a first round knockout. There's a number of different ways that this could go. Don't just assume that it's going to take place exactly like the first one did. I'm going to go with Chairez by second round submission in this spot. But this is a fight that I don't really see myself getting involved with. But like, if this line keeps going and Chairez gets to like minus 450 or something like that, I'm probably going to have to take the shot on Lacerda because, like I say, Chairez is good, but he's not minus 360 in the UFC against anybody. Let's see what you guys are saying in the chat here. But let me leave that up. That makes it easier when I put timestamps on. All right. Shame this fight is in the Apex. It was originally scheduled for UFC 290. The C-Rod Saaiman fight. Yeah, I know. That's a shame. C-Rod had to pull out of that one, and then Saaiman got Terrance Mitchell instead. Local man Shakes Fist said, got the finish only at minus 180. It's still minus 200. It's so weird since it's finishing 90% of the time anyways. Should just basically be his money line. Yeah, I mean, I hear you. That's not the worst idea there. You might as well go the finish only because Chairez is durable and Lacerda isn't. So you got to like that finish only prop there for him. It's a better way to get him than paying minus 360 on the money line. Better get on Yanez plus money. That probably be gone by Friday morning. Yeah, man, I'm hoping to get on Martinez at plus money, actually. Nothing better to wind down my day than with my favorite uncle. Thanks, Weezy, says the Golden Octagon. Good to see you hanging out in your Golden Octagon. Appreciate you, man. 50 of you here still hanging out live. Almost an hour and a half into this week's Just the Tip. Hit that thumbs up. Hit that subscribe. Leave me a comment down below. And please consider joining the Patreon as we get to the next fight here, where it's going to be Andre Petroski going up against Michel Pereira. Petroski, the dog, at plus 160. Pereira, the favorite, minus 185. Fight doesn't go to decision, and minus 150 for this fight. All right. Let's see here. 1, 2, 3. So we got 4 fights left to go, including this one. Let's first start talking about our guy, Andre Petroski. He's going to be the more dangerous and opportunistic finisher. He's got an 80% finish rate and 10 pro wins, and he's got as many submissions as he does knockouts. Petroski is the better grappler for sure in this matchup. He does such an excellent job of mixing his wrestling with his BJJ to not only get fights to the ground, but keep them there once they're there. Andre is averaging 4.56 takedowns per 15 minutes on 8.36 attempts. He's getting his takedowns at a fantastic 54.5% clip, and he also has above average 71.5% takedown defense on 7 attempts against. His efficiency numbers are good as well. He outcontrols his opponents 47% to 6.5%, winning 88% of the control time positions his fights have been in. All 4 of Petroski's knockout wins come by way of ground and pound, so all 8 of his finish wins come on the mat. Andre's bread and butter is his grappling, and Pereira has only really fought strikers thus far in the UFC. So it's going to be very interesting to see how Pereira deals with a grappling-heavy game plan from his opponent, because that's most likely how Petroski is going to try to win this fight. Now, Michel Pereira's advantage is he's over 2 years younger and 1 inch taller than Andre. Michel definitely has the experience advantage. He's got 30 more professional fights than Andre. He's got 340 more minutes in the pro cage and almost 7 more years as a pro fighter. Michel also has the UFC experience advantage with 3 more fights and 45 more minutes of octagon time. Now, Michel's the better striker in this striker versus grappler matchup. Andre's UFC fights take place at distance striking range less than 47% of the time, but for Pereira, it's 82% of the time. Michel does an excellent job of using his wrestling in reverse to keep fights where he wants them at distance striking range. At distance, Michel has a positive 1.49 distance striking differential. He's got 51% accuracy and 61.6% defense. Every single one of his distance striking metrics is above average for the division. Michel does an excellent job of using his lateral movement to stay out of range, then exploding into range with his fast, powerful attacks before getting back on his bike and skirting around the edge of the octagon. Michel has never been dropped in the UFC, and he made his debut against Danny Roberts and got a highlight reel flying knee KO. When Michel first debuted in the UFC, he was known for flashy, acrobatic, highlight reel style striking that was low percentage with a high energy output. Now he's a lot more sensible and serious about using his striking to win minutes and not lose moments, and it's working for him. Michel's on a 5-fight winning streak, and his last 4 wins are by decision, proving he can use his striking to win minutes, bank rounds, and win decisions instead of doing dumbass backflips and shit that'll excite the crowd, but that those kind of strikes that'll never land or win him fights. And according to my metric, Michel has fought and beaten the better brand of UFC competition. So this is a new weight class for Michel Pereira in the UFC, as he's going to be welcomed to the middleweight division after missing weight for his pay-per-view main card fight against Wonderboy. Then Wonderboy, in classic fashion, refused to take the fight, and then that was a major blow to the pay-per-view, which of course pissed off the UFC brass. Now Pereira is forced up to 185, and instead of matching him up against another pure striker that he'll be comfortable against, they're feeding him to a pure grappler who will make him grapple and take the fight to places where Michel is much less comfortable and against a bigger opponent than he's used to seeing at the welterweight weight class. In addition, this fight is in the small cage, where Petroski should have an easier time cutting off the cage against the fleet of foot Pereira. This is a hard fight to call because it's a new stylistic matchup for both of these guys. Petroski has never fought a striker in the UFC the level of Pereira. He's fought Michael Gilmore, Hu Yazong, who's a bum who couldn't hit water if he fell out of a boat. Nick Maximov, he couldn't hit the floor if he fell out of bed. Wellington Turman, not a great striker. Gerald Mearshart, a career grappler with over 20-something wins by submission, but not really a striker. And Pereira has never fought a grappler at the UFC level. He fought Danny Roberts. He fought Tristan Connolly, who's a featherweight up at 170. So even though Connolly is kind of a grappler, he's not out grappling guys in the UFC. Diego Sanchez, who is old and washed up. Zalim Imadaev. Chaos Williams, not a grappler. Nico Price, not a grappler. Andre Fialho, not a grappler. And Santiago Ponzinibbio, not a grappler. Plus, we don't know if the 94% takedown defense of Pereira that he accrued at welterweight will hold up in the middleweight division against the grappler in Petroski, a much bigger guy than what he's used to facing. I have a bet on this fight, and it's the over 2.5 rounds. It opened at plus 150 on Bet Online, and I bet that for 2 units. And even at this price where it's minus 105 now I got plus 150 for this, but even at minus 105 where it is now, that's a 51% implied probability when you convert that minus 105 into a probability. 47% of middleweight fights go over 2.5 rounds. But here's the thing. Petroski in the UFC went over 2.5 rounds in 4 of his 5 fights. Pereira in 7 of his 8 fights. So if you add up those numbers, 11 of 13 fights, or 84.6% of these fights have actually went over 2.5 rounds, and we're only paying 51% on the line. When you have that big of a divergence, 84% and 51%, normally that number there is going to be a lot bigger into the negative, because the bookies are usually going to price that prop to make it a lot less attractive. So it would probably be minus 150 or something like that to get it up to like a 60% implied probability, or even higher than that. But that's why I hit that so big for 2 units at plus 150 a piece. I'm looking to win 3 units on the over 2.5 in this fight. And then if we go back to the stats here, there are too many unknowns in this fight for me to be confident about either side. However, because of the move up in weight class and the difference in stylistic matchups for Pereira as opposed to his original opponent in Marc-Andre Barrio, I have to lean Petroski here. I think he can make this the kind of fight where the grappling pressure can make Pereira's striking ineffective. And I think the difference in size at middleweight will make it easier for Pereira to be taken down. So I'm picking Andre Petroski to win this fight by decision here, you guys. All right, so we go Petroski by decision over Michel Pereira, and I'm thinking about getting to an Andre Petroski moneyline bet here. Petroski is taking this on short notice, like I said, but the move up in weight class, the stylistic difference from all the pure strikers that Pereira has been facing in the past, I think that Petroski could wind up making Pereira look terrible on the ground if he gets takedowns and gets to a couple of dominant positions here. So Petroski by decision is the pick. Let's see what you guys are saying in the chat. Justin saying Michel Pereira is my gluteus maximus shave of the week. So you're on the other side as me, but that's all right. This is going to be a good fight. And like I say, it's hard to be confident about either side because of the unknowns that we have here. Kiwi Brew, and now he's just known for lying about his age. Yeah, Pereira might be a little bit older than what we think he is, or what he's saying he is. That's for sure. Real Fight Pig saying Petroski is going to outmuscle him. Michel couldn't handle Tristan Connolly, a featherweight. Yes, that is true. But hopefully, there won't be as long of a dance routine for Pereira before this fight that would wind up tiring him out. He was doing backflips. He was breakdancing in there. And he did like a 10-minute dance routine on his way to the cage. So I don't know what happened there. Hopefully he doesn't pull that shit again. Petroski's striking looked terrible last fight, and it's a quick turnaround for him. Yes. If this fight stays at distance striking range, Pereira is going to pick him apart and make it look easy. Absolutely, Michael. Justin Villegas saying, I feel bad for Chimaev and the rest of the middleweight division with Pereira there. Yeah, right. Das Files likes it. I think Petroski's going to get slept. Yeah, I mean, like if Pereira's explosive, but I mean, you got to remember, man. I mean, like Pereira looks huge at welterweight, but at middleweight, he's not gonna look the same, I don't think. Justin saying two of my favorite fighters are Dricus and Pereira, and they can't share the belt. That's true. Giga saying he's too explosive to be held down like that, and Petroski sucks at finishing. He'll get a KO by the third round. And Justin saying they should think about tag team belts where you could tag the other fighter in to fight. Yeah, well, that's what the old school wrestling got right, was the tag team championships made wrestling into more of a team sport than an individual sport. And that was a game changer for them. But the next fight that we're going to talk about here is going to be Johnathan the Dragon Martinez at minus 125 going up against Adrian Yanez plus 105. Fight doesn't go to decision for this one at minus 160. So these are the stats there. And let's first start talking about the Dragon, Johnathan Martinez. He's going to be 1 inch taller, and he's the southpaw in this southpaw versus orthodox matchup. Johnathan has the experience advantage with 2 more pro fights, over 60 more minutes in the pro cage, and the same amount of time as a professional. In addition, he has 6 more UFC fights and about 120 more minutes of octagon time. And Johnathan is a very solid kickboxer, training out of Factory X Muay Thai in Englewood, Colorado, just like a guy that we talked about earlier in today's card, Chris El Guapo Gutierrez. His UFC striking metrics over a 2-hour sample size at distance striking range are showing a positive 0.71 distance striking differential, 45.7% accuracy, and 61.2% defense. Johnathan flashes power, landing 7 knockdowns in 12 UFC fights, dropping these hoes on 1.17% of the distance strikes that he lands. 3 of John's 9 UFC wins come by way of knockout, and almost 75% of Martinez's octagon time takes place at distance striking range. Make no mistake about it. Yanez is a boxer, and Martinez is a kickboxer. John does a better job of maintaining range with his weapons because they're longer range, because they're the kicks. Those southpaw kicks to the body he throws against orthodox opponents are nasty. And not only can they shut off your liver, but they can break your forearm when you block them. We've also seen Martinez finish the Swanson fight with inside leg kicks. And a boxer like Yanez, who's heavy on his lead leg, better be very careful of those kicks. Another power weapon you need to watch out for from Martinez are the step-in knees that he used to starch Ping-a-Ling Yu and Frankie Saenz. So I'm giving Martinez the grappling advantage here as well. Neither of these guys offensively grapples much, but Martinez's grappling efficiency cannot be ignored. He has above average 69% takedown defense, but what's most impressive is the fact that he's winning 61% of the control time positions in his fights, despite the fact that he's attempting only 25% of the takedowns. John's fights take place in control time positions 25% of the time, so perhaps we could see John mix in the clinch and wrestling games here to give Adrian a look he's not used to seeing in the UFC. Yanez has attempted 0 takedowns in 6 UFC fights, and his opponents have only attempted 6 against him. 96.6% of Yanez's fights take place at distance striking range. So the obvious move to take Yanez out of his comfort zone and his game plan would be to at least try to grapple a little here, because Adrian is clearly not comfortable doing that. And according to my metric, Martinez has fought and beaten the better brand of UFC competition overall. When you look deeper, it's obvious that Martinez has beaten the much better guys. Buren, Ping-a-Ling, Saenz, Tommy Almeida, Zvaid Lazishvili, Turbo Perez, Vince Morales, Cub Swanson, and Said Nurmagomedov, compared to Yanez, who beat Victor Rodriguez, Gustavo Lopez, Randy Costa, Davey Grant, and Tony Kelly. 4 of the 5 wins Yanez has are guys who have been cut from the promotion, while Martinez's last 2 wins are guys over guys like Cub Swanson and Said Nurmagomedov. So I'd see Martinez has the strength of schedule advantage here. The common opponent, though, is Davy Grant, and Giannis won a split decision versus Grant, but Grant knocked out Johnathan Martinez in the second round. So that's of some significance. Now, the Adrian Giannis advantages. He's been the more opportunistic finisher as a pro. He has a 75% finish rate in 16 pro wins. He's got 2 submissions and 10 knockouts compared to a 55% finish rate for Martinez. In addition, Giannis has finished a higher percentage of his UFC wins in comparison to Martinez. 80% for Giannis, 33% for Martinez. Now, Adrian's a slick boxer. His distance metrics don't really blow you away on paper. He's got a positive 0.64 distance striking differential, 40% accuracy, a little bit less than 60% defense. He's high volume, though, landing 6.6 distance strikes per minute and attempting 16.52. He's got slick, fast, piston-like jab that he uses well against orthodox fighters, and he's such a patient and accurate counter striker. Whenever his opponent comes into range, Adrian is there countering in combination. He's accurate and powerful in those pocket exchanges, and it shows with his 5 knockdowns in 6 UFC fights, landing a knockdown on 1.86% of the distance strikes he lands and finishing 4 of his 5 UFC wins by way of knockout. In addition, Adrian's fights stay at distance striking range for over 96% of his 42 minutes of octagon time. So Adrian does a good job of using his wrestling in reverse to keep fights where he wants them, which is at distance striking range. Adrian has 100% takedown defense on 6 attempts against in the UFC. So this is a great striker versus striker matchup on this main card. The powerful and explosive kickboxing of Martinez versus the slick, accurate counter striking in the pocket of Giannis. There are a lot of reasons to like Johnathan the Dragon Martinez on paper. He's a tad younger. He's a little more experienced overall. He has almost 4 times as much octagon time as Giannis, and against a better level of competition, too. In addition, we've actually seen Martinez use his grappling game to win minutes in several UFC fights, so it's hard not to give him the grappling advantage. If we're being honest, the striking should be close. Martinez does such a great job of using his kicks to maintain range, but not just that. He's also dangerous with those body and leg kicks, and we've seen him finish fights after landing a big knee or kick to the body, and he finished Swanson with a series of 3 inside leg kicks. I feel as if Martinez has more ways to win this fight, and I like all the advantages he has on paper here. I'm really looking forward to this high-level bantamweight fight. 2 guys on the right side of 30 who have both had numbers next to their name before they were 30 years old. 2 clean, technical, and powerful strikers throwing down in this fight, and I'm here for it. I'm picking Martinez to win by decision, but no bets for me yet in this fight. So if we go to Tapology here, we're going to go Johnathan Martinez to win this fight by decision. Let's see what you guys are saying in the chat here. My man, Narco Cop in the room. What's up, dude? Saying Uncle Weezy, my man. Good to see you hanging out in here. I'm anxious to see you and Tim on Friday night break down these fights from a wide prop perspective so that those Lambos can be purchased and we can have those sweet like vanity plates saying MMA bet or some shit like that. Talking about making some money with my guy Narco Cop here. We got Michael Martinez in the room saying Martinez has vicious leg kicks and good wrestling. I think he has more weapons and he looked really good his last fight. Martinez for the victory. Let's go. I'm with you there, Michael. And we got my guy Dev, the MMA Jesus 420 in the room saying what's up. Good to see you, Dev. Let me know who you're liking this week, brother. All right, you guys, let's move on to the co-main event of the evening. It is going to be Jennifer Maia against Viviane Araújo. Jennifer Maia is going to be a little bit younger than Vivi, but it's Vivi who's got that 4-inch reach advantage in this spot. Oh, and by the way, we got to get the odds up here, don't we? Jennifer Maia minus 145. Araújo, the underdog, plus 125. Fight doesn't go to decision, plus 300. So the overs juiced to the tits in this particular matchup, and I get it. Neither one of these ladies is really getting finished much in their pro careers, and neither one of them is finishing at a high level in the UFC. So Maia is a lot more experienced, 15 more professional fights, 2 more fights at the UFC level. Neither one of these ladies is really finishing fights. With Vivi, you got somebody who's 17 of 35 on her takedown attempts, and she's out-controlling her opponent 17% to 10%. Jennifer is just not an active wrestler. She's a BJJ black belt. She's got a very good ground game, and we have seen her finally start to mix in the occasional takedown attempt, but this fight should really take place on the feet. We see that Maia's fights take place there about 66% of the time. Araujo's fights take place there around 72% of the time. And both these ladies move a lot. They're very elusive on the outside. Maia definitely circles around the outside of the cage. She's a very hard target to find. She moves very well laterally. Araujo's got kind of like an energy-centric style. She's up and down a lot. She's back and forth a lot. She throws with power, though, on the feet. That's the one thing Vivi really has. She's nasty and mean on the feet. I think that Vivi will be the one probably landing the bigger shots here, probably throwing with a little more purpose. But because of that, I think she's going to gas out a little bit quicker here. And I think Jennifer Maia, who kind of pushes the same pace for the whole fight, who's always defensively responsible, who always maintains the amount of energy necessary to keep moving laterally, to use her feet to defend well. I kind of just see Maia winning the minutes here. Vivi, 4-4 in decisions overall. Jennifer Maia, 12-7 in her career in decisions overall. Both these ladies, though, are 500 in decisions, but you kind of look at the losses here. You add up the girls that beat Vivi, and you see that they're 30 wins and 21 losses in the UFC. You look at the ladies that are beating Jennifer Maia, they're 45-18. So I just think that when you match these ladies up against each other, Jennifer has the better understanding of how to win minutes at the highest levels of the division. And she's in close fights with these ladies that she's losing to. And Viviane Araujo, in some of these fights that she's losing dominantly. She lost dominantly to Ribas. Ribas kicked her ass all 3 rounds. Alexa Grasso destroyed her. Caitlin Chookagian cleanly won the minutes at distance striking range there. While Maia is having a little bit closer fights, and her wins are just a tick better than Vivi's here. This is a fight I have very, very little interest in. I'm not the kind of person to lay juice on Maia. If you can get Maia by decision at close to even money, I think that's the best way to play her. I'm picking Jennifer Maia to win this fight by decision, but with very little confidence and with very little interest in any of the betting angles on this fight. So let's just move on to the main event here after picking Jennifer Maia to win this fight by decision. Michael saying Maia going in the parlay this week. Yeah, I got no problem. I mean, you shouldn't be parlaying women's MMA favorites most of the time. I think she gets the job done here. But if you're always putting together multi-leg parlays every week, nothing wrong with having Maia in there if it's something that you do regularly. But yeah, I will not be parlaying up Maia, and I'm probably not going to have any action on this fight. But the main event is a very good fight, you guys. We got Sadiq Yusuff at -162 going up against Edson Jr. Barboza +142. Fight doesn't go to decision for this one, up at -250. So here's the stats up on the screen. And let's first start talking about Sadiq Yusuff after I get a sip of water. So Sadiq is 7 years younger than Edson Barboza, and he's a damn good fighter at the tender age of 30, is Sadiq Yusuff. He has that impressive 13-win, 2-loss record. His only UFC loss coming by decision to Arnold Allen. Sadiq is 6 wins and 1 loss to the decision in his career. So he has an understanding of how to use all the tools he has in order to win minutes, bank rounds, and win decisions at the professional level. And Yusuff's distance striking metrics in the UFC are above average in basically every category. He's got a positive 0.95 distance striking differential. He's got 43.5% accuracy, 61.5% defense. He's got 2 knockdowns in 7 UFC fights, and 2 of his 6 UFC wins come by way of knockout. I like the pressure I saw him bring in the Benitez fight because crowding the kicker is something he's going to want to do in this matchup. Sadiq's distance striking metrics are on par with Barboza's, so you know this kid has chops at range. I can't wait to see who looks better at distance in this matchup because both these dudes are so good at what they do. And Sadiq hasn't been successful offensively wrestling in the UFC. He's only got 1 takedown in 7 UFC fights, but he's been efficient at winning control time positions. Sadiq is out-controlling his opponents 19.7% to 14.4%, winning almost 58% of the control time positions his fights have been in, despite only getting 14% of the takedowns in those UFC fights. His takedown defense at 62.5% is just about average, but his get-up game and ability to reverse position is really good, so he doesn't allow his opponents to win minutes against him with their grappling. Now, Edson Barboza has fought most of his pro career up at lightweight, so he's going to be the bigger dude here. He's 2 inches taller, and he's going to have a 4-inch reach advantage over Yusuff. And Edson has the experience advantage here. He's got 19 more professional fights and over 200 more minutes in the pro cage, along with 7 more years as a professional. Edson also has 21 more professional fights at the UFC level in comparison to Sadiq, along with well over 200 more minutes of octagon time. Edson has always been a very dangerous kickboxer. His spinning wheel kick of KO of Terry Edom back in 2012 is still one of the most savage knockouts in UFC history. Edson throws nasty kicks. He's won multiple fights with leg kicks, and wherever he throws his rear leg, he throws it with seriously bad intentions, and everything is meant to knock you out. He's coming off a KO win over Billy Q, where he caught Billy level changing and timed a perfect knee that dropped him. Edson is always going to be so dangerous at distance striking range. He has been knocked out 3 times in the UFC, but he's got 9 KO wins in the UFC from his debut back in 2011 on. So he's obviously a guy who does his best and most dangerous work at distance striking range. Edson has landed 11 knockouts or 11 knockdowns in 22 UFC fights since 2013, landing a knockdown on 1.12% of the distance strikes that he's landed. He's got a positive 0.69 distance striking differential with above average 45% accuracy and 62.2% defense at distance. So he has the capability to not just win moments, but also minutes at distance striking range. And Edson's been around the UFC forever, and obviously over a 23-fight stretch since 2013, he's fought and beaten the better and more experienced brand of UFC competition, most of it up a weight class at 155. So this is going to be a really fun main event. 2 dynamic strikers with lots of power and minute-winning capabilities. I love the fact that Sadiq is 7 years younger, and many of the things that Edson does well, Sadiq is also good at. We've never seen Sadiq scheduled for 5 rounds before, and Edson has been scheduled for 5 3 different times, and none of those fights saw the scorecards. It's always best to see Edson in striking battles, and I think this place should take place on the feet, but you never know if Sadiq has been working on his wrestling to round out his game. Sadiq's a minus 162 favorite right now, and I think that's due to the youth, the grappling upside, and the power that Yusuff possesses. But Edson should not be out of his depth here. He's taller, he's longer, he has the better power numbers over a larger sample size, and he's always been one of the most feared kickboxers in any division. So even though Edson's pushing 38 with a lot of miles on the tires, I think he's at least 50-50 on the feet against Sadiq, if not 60-40. And we haven't seen Sadiq ever be dominant enough in the grappling to worry too much about Edson losing the fight because of Sadiq's wrestling and offensive grappling. So I think that this winds up being a very close fight that's very hard to pick. That being the case, I'd have to say the Barboza money line is the value side here at plus 142. But as far as who wins the fight, I honestly think it's 50-50. For the sake of making a pick, I'll say Barboza by third round knockout, but that is a pick with little confidence that I'm making. I doubt I'll have any action on this fight, and I'll just sit back and enjoy what should be a war between two absolute studs. But for the sake of the show, I'll make a pick here, and it's going to be Edson Barboza to win by third round knockout. All right, we did it, you guys. We got through all 12 of these fights. We're going to give you guys my tracked bets for the week. We're going to give you guys the Bootsy Collins Memorial Dogs Are Barking pick of the week. And we're going to finish with Uncle Weezy's ass shaving of the week. And my God, DFS by the numbers giving us more great UFC 294 news. Paulo Costa is officially out of his fight against Khamzat Chimaev. UFC 294 in shambles. So not surprising that Paulo would not show up for that fight. Yeah, I mean, what more could you say? You knew he wasn't going to fight Chimaev. He never will. And we may never see this guy in the cage ever again because he simply does not want to be here. Wow. 294 gave us the Volkanovski Makhachev rematch that nobody wanted right now. You know, well, maybe some people did want it, but either way, I didn't want it. So anyway, we got Justin saying if Barboza game plan is 75% leg kicks, he's unstoppable. But lately, Barboza likes to win one, make use. But lately, Barboza like to win one, make use, think he plan, then he throw everything, goes out, make us think he's back. Whatever. Yeah, spell check must drop out of school early too. Yeah. Michael Martinez, I'm with you, Weezy. I'm just going to enjoy the fight. These main events have been crazy lately. Yes, they have, man. UFC Sharp is saying, glad I caught some of the live cast, my man. Always got to go Barboza as well, bro. As always, keep it sleazy, Weezy. Says UFC's Sharpest. Appreciate you hanging out. And yes, Paulo Costa is now the UFC's Dylan Dennis for sure. Never shows up to a fight. What a bummer. But, you know, not surprising. And frankly, if anyone deserves to not have an opponent, it's Khamzat Chimaev after what he pulled coming in 10 pounds heavy for a UFC main event. So, yeah, don't feel sorry for Khamzat, and hopefully nobody steps up to fight that dude. Anyway, you guys, let's start by giving you guys my track bets so far. So on this card, I've got Darren Elkins, a 1-unit money line bet at plus 180. We talked about the reasoning for that. I've got the 2-unit bet at plus 150 on the Pereira Petroski over 2.5 rounds. As we mentioned here on the prop template, 4 of 5 of Petroski's UFC fights and 7 of 8 of Pereira's UFC fights have went over 2.5 rounds, 84.6% of their combined 13 fights, and we're only paying 40% on the implied probability of the line, but right now could still be had at minus 105 for 51%. So that is the second tracked bet. And then we've got the Christian Rodriguez scorecards equals no action, otherwise known as the finish-only prop for C-Rod here, 1.15 units at minus 115. Also considering a 1-unit bet on the Andre Petroski money line here. I think he could outgrapple Pereira, but I've already got 2 units on the over, so I think I might leave that one alone. But those are the track bets so far here. Then we're going to go to the Bootsy Collins Memorial Dogs Are Barking pick of the week. Going to give you a plus money shot here that I think comes through for you guys. Make those bank accounts just a little bit fatter by getting those plus money bets under your belt this week. Who else but the Darren Elkins money line, plus 152. Like I said, TJ Brown, he's younger, he's bigger, he's faster, he's more athletic, and he's the better striker in this matchup. But he has 29% takedown defense. He's got piss poor fight IQ, and he leaves so many openings in the grappling. So Elkins, who's a guy that's very, very durable, who is somebody who's most comfortable when he's pushing a grappling heavy game plan, can be the one to get the takedowns here, can be the one to make this a greasy, dirty fight up against the cage on the mat. Elkins excels there. TJ Brown does not excel in stopping takedowns and not giving up control time. And I could see Elkins doing what he does best, winning the control time positions, outgrinding his opponent, outworking his opponent, out wrestling his opponent, bleeding all over his opponent on the way to a decision or even a submission victory here. Love the Darren Elkins money line for a dog pick this week. Also like the Darren Elkins finish only prop at plus 160 on Bet Online Sportsbook. And then that gets us to the last order of business of the week. Uncle Weezy's ass shaving of the week. Who's going to win in violent fashion? Who's going to completely dominate their opponent? There's a lot of good answers to that question this week, but I'm not confident about a lot of people. I kind of went through this list of fights 4 or 5 different times. I think Terrance McKinney probably gets this kid out of there from the New England Cartel in the first round, but I don't think he knocks him out. I mean, like, these New England Cartel guys are tough. They're scrappy, you know. Gutierrez is minus 400 versus Heili Alateng. You know, Ducote's minus 400 versus Ashley Yoder. You know, it was hard to pick an ass shaving this week, but I changed my rules a little bit. I'm going to change things up a little bit. I'm going to give you a female ass shaving of the week this week, and it is going to be Tainara Lisboa to shave the ass of Ravena Oliveira. Oliveira's okay. She's good all around. Like I say, she doesn't have any glaring weaknesses in her game. But from what I see from Tainara Lisboa, there is very good striking. There's a lot of power, and the ground game has been rounding out. Since the time that we saw her get rear naked choked by Norma Dumont in her UFC debut, she's come a long way from where she was back then. She's worked on that ground game. Her top control is excellent. Her clinch game is excellent. And her at distance, this isn't even close. So I'm going to go with Tainara Lisboa to shave the ass of Ravena Oliveira, do it inside the distance, and give you another fight that finishes inside the distance and does it violently. We're hot with these lately. We're almost as hot with the greasy 4-leg parlays right now. So that's what we're going with for the ass shaving of the week. 2 hours and 8 minutes in. I appreciate you guys for hanging out. 48 of you still hearing. Hit that thumbs up. Hit that subscribe. Leave me a comment. Please consider joining the Patreon to get access to all these stats that you saw on today's show. The best way to support my work. But I appreciate you guys for hanging out tonight on another great episode of Just a Tip with me, your host, Uncle Weezy. We got Justin Vegas saying the stinky Ronda Rousey. She is not my pick for the ass shaving of the week this week. We got Andy saying, do you think Dawson threw his fight, or is he that bad? Yeah, Grant Dawson's not a bad fighter. That's the first loss that he's had in the UFC. He probably just got caught. But I think a lot of people are thinking that he threw that fight because he used to train under Krause, you know, and Krause is persona non grata, you know, with the UFC right now. So, no, I don't think he threw it. I think he got caught. I think he got caught by a guy that we all knew was the better striker. We just didn't think that Green would be able to stop the takedowns when Dawson shot them. Dawson didn't even get a chance to shoot one. He shot holes in my greasy 4-leg parlay by not covering the minus 440 price tag. But yeah, man, these things, they don't always work out. But I think Grant Dawson will be back, and I think he'll keep climbing that ladder and eventually get into the top 10 of the division. And we got Justin saying, great breakdowns. Remdog saying he loves it. We got Andy saying, thanks, Weezy. We got Jivan Gurung saying, oi, what is happening here? And Remdog saying, it was that awful Hunchback of Notre Dame music he walked out to that caused him to lose. Did he really walk out to the Hunchback of Notre Dame? That's not good, man. That's not good. But you guys, I hope you all enjoyed the show. Let's stack cash tickets like flapjacks for UFC Vegas 81 and keep this winning streak going. I'll be back tomorrow, 8 o'clock Central Time on Pub Sports Radio for the DFS show with DFS by the Numbers, Monk Maddox, and Gordo Gambles. And I'll be right back here tomorrow night, 10 o'clock Central Time, Uncle Weezy's YouTube channel for Ask Weezy. We'll go over some prize picks. We'll go over some underdog, some props, some money lines. Ask me any questions that you have about any of the fights or fighters on the UFC Vegas 81 card. We will see you guys. Thank you for hanging out, and we will see you tomorrow on Pub Sports Radio and right back here at 10 o'clock Central Time on this channel. Good night, everybody. To all my nieces and nephews out there, we'll see you guys tomorrow. Thank you.